So, coming into the 2022 college football season, few teams had the amount of excitement the Miami Hurricanes had behind them. Fast forward to this point in the season, and Miami's coming off of back-to-back losses, including one this weekend, in a shocking upset to Middle Tennessee State University. Today, we have got to ask the question, where does Miami go from here? Can they get it back together? And what needs to happen for them to get back on the path to success? Before we do, as always, though, y'all know the drill. I need to hear from you. Hop down to the comments, give me a Y for yes, N for no. Do you believe that the Miami Hurricanes will be able to find their way, or do you believe that the Hurricanes are in trouble? Let me know what you're thinking. Can't wait to hear from you. If you are new to the channel, be sure to subscribe. Hit that bell notification. I'm on a push to 15,000 subscribers. We have an awesome community here, and I would love to have you a part of that community. If you enjoyed this, be sure to like and comment down below. Those interactions are massive, but having said all that, let's jump right into this. And I want to start with how I started this video off, talking about the momentum and hype Miami had going into this season, because I understand no football games have ever been won off of preseason hype and momentum. It just doesn't happen, and I don't think it's going to start tomorrow. I bring that to your attention because of the state of Florida and where the programs within the state currently are. When you look at the landscape of Florida in particular, it's a little bit unique. First and foremost, because you have so many outside forces in the state every single year trying to recruit because of how much talent is located into the state of Florida. Whenever we're talking about states like Louisiana, Georgia, Texas, California, Florida, you're going to have every institution in the nation trying to pitch a tent in your backyard so that way they can have a home base and be able to recruit, because Florida is that talented. Remember, I always talk about this. If we look at the top 300 players per 24/7 Sports composite, around 57 of them are located in the state of Florida, 50 of them being in the state of Texas. So every institution in the nation has their eyes in Florida. But now you look even deeper. You look at what's in Florida. UCF has a pending move to a Power 5 conference, and in no way, shape, or form, Miami fans, am I saying UCF is the team you need to be staying up thinking about. It's just another team that's going to have another layer of legitimacy added onto them at a program that's been going back and forth into how they're trending for the past few years, but they're a program that's been able to garner national attention before, and now they're going to a Power 5 conference, just adding to the level of heated competition you're going to face, as I'm sure UCF is already an active program within the state of Florida. You look at the Florida Gators under Billy Napier, and yes, they're 2-2 right now, and last week we sat down and had to ask the question, are the Gators in trouble this season? However, that being said, I had to ask that question because up to that point, Florida didn't have any offensive identity. It didn't help that Anthony Richardson had a little bit of an injury, but they didn't have any sort of offensive identity. And yes, they may not have won this weekend, but at least if you're a Florida fan, you leave that game and feel bittersweet. It's bitter because you want to win those games. You're the University of Florida, and that's the Tennessee Volunteers. You want to be able to go into their house and come out with a victory. It's sweet in the sense of, for the first time, your team really looked like it had a coherent offensive identity, and that's something you hope you can build off of. It's going to be really interesting to see what the Gators offense is able to do going forward, but they had a semblance of an identity. They had a semblance of being a cohesive unit, and I think that in and of itself is a very positive thing if you're a Florida fan. Then you look at Florida State, and Florida State is currently sitting 4-0. Do I believe they're going to finish the year undefeated? I don't know that I believe that. I think there's still a ways to go, but the matter of the fact is that they're a team right now that is captivating in college football. They're garnering attention, and they're an exciting team. They're a team that moves the needle. People want to watch them play. That could do something powerful for them in terms of recruiting. And just this week alone, we saw a 5-star wide receiver, Hakeem Williams, a player that Miami wanted bad, choose the Florida State Seminoles over the Miami Hurricanes. Now, we understand early signing day and national signing day are still a ways away, so nothing is finished until pen is on paper, but the point remains, Florida State is currently moving the needle for prospects. If you're Miami, you have to understand that what you were given this offseason was a very powerful opportunity. And like I continue to say, momentum in the preseason isn't going to win you games during the season, but it can help you win recruiting battles so long as you're able to maintain that momentum. If you're able to take that preseason momentum, get some big-time wins, or at the very least, be a team that looks like they're trending in the correct direction, you can translate that into recruiting wins. And that's exactly why I bring up all the outside forces trying to recruit in Florida and the institutions within the state of Florida that are also attempting to do the exact same thing, bolster their perception so that way their future of recruiting is sewed up. If you're Miami, first and foremost, you have got to get back to the drawing board, and I think it's a really good thing that you have a bye week this week. First and foremost, you need to get some guys healthy, because currently, your leading receiver hasn't played in a football game since September 10th, kind of signaling that this offense isn't clicking in a manner that many people, including myself, thought it would. Tyler Van Dyke is an individual that I was very excited to see what strides he would take this year, but up to this point, he ranks 80th in yards and 92nd in QBR. And Miami's offense as a whole ranks 47th in the pass. They rank 53rd in the run. The offense as a whole, quite honestly, just hasn't been working. And even though I maintain it's way too early to hit the panic button and that Mario Cristobal needs to be given the time, I'm sure there are going to be several Miami fans asking serious questions about Josh Gaddis, and the reason is quite simple. Because last season, we saw Tyler Van Dyke look like he was going to be one of the bright, young, exciting players in college football during this season. So far, we haven't seen that same Tyler Van Dyke. It's not the same quarterback by any stretch of the imagination, and I understand there are new pieces, there are pieces that are out, but this offense is clearly not working right now. And yes, Miami has a lot as a team they have got to work on, but if you had to signal out one area that people were really excited about and it just has not lived up to what it was a year ago, you have to point to the offense, and I think the biggest indication of that is a bright young quarterback that there's no question about his capability, but we're just not seeing him be the confident passer we saw from a year ago, and we were expecting to see strides taken, and I don't think we've seen that at all. Miami has got a lot to work on going forward. And if you're the Miami Hurricanes and you're asking yourself, how can we regain some of this momentum? It starts with the little things. I know that the easy answer is to say, hey, we need a big win. But in order to get that big win, you've got to start doing the little things right. You have to start doing the intricate things right so that they can compound and turn themselves into a big win. That, I think, is where Miami needs to be looking right now. Because if you are able to show throughout the rest of this year that you're an improving football team, someone with your future fully out in front of you, and there's a reason why people need to be excited as to what the future can hold, well, you can recapture some of that momentum. You can recapture some of that and be able to take it through the season and into the offseason. You might not be winning an ACC championship, but at this point, you need to show that there's a reason for there to be a palpable excitement for your future. That's something Miami has to do going forward. It's going to have to come defensively. It's going to have to come from the offense. So we have to ask the question, is Miami in trouble? And I'm going to take the exact same approach I took last week when we had this conversation, or a similar conversation, with Billy Napier's Gators. It's way too early for there to be any level of severe panic, or for us to say concretely, Miami's in trouble or Mario Cristobal's not the guy. I mean, it's his first year in Miami in a situation where he's going to have to bolster some things to be able to get this program where he would like. Now, that doesn't mean that questions can't be asked, concerns can't be had, because both of those are legitimate, especially when you're a team like Miami with all the momentum in this season. Losing to Texas A&M is one thing. Texas A&M is a program that has historically been able to find ways to win in close games. Now, that's a game you would love to have won given the circumstances around Texas A&M at the time, but at the end of the day, losing to Texas A&M is one where you can put it behind you, get back to the drawing board, and still have everything out in front of you. Losing to Middle Tennessee State University, however, is a perception issue, and that's going to be something that Miami now has to try and correct. At the end of the day, there are several pieces on this Miami team I think you have to be excited about, but we have to understand Mario Cristobal needs to be given the time it takes to be able to get his guys in and to be able to create a culture that he and this staff thinks are going to be conducive to winning. That's not going to be something that happens in a day, in a week, in a month, and especially during the season where now you're trying to establish a culture and figure out your identity. That's a lot to do all at once, something I think we as fans take for granted a lot of the times, and for that reason, I'm taking the same approach I took when we were talking about Billy Napier. Can you be concerned? Can you have questions? Sure, I think that's perfectly fine. I don't think anybody would argue that after Miami got upset by Middle Tennessee State University. That's fine. Is it reason to panic? I think it's too early. It's still so young in the career of Mario Cristobal as the head coach of the Miami Hurricanes, and he needs to be given time to build the program and mold the program in a manner he likes. So because of that, I can't wait to hear from all of you. Hop down to the comments. Let me know what you're thinking about the Miami Hurricanes, because they have some work to do to regain some momentum. That's it. See ya.